Please let me know if you can hear it.
Hi, my name is Dashri Mercedes. My name is Ana Hernandez. I was born in Cuba.
My name is Alexander Viola. I'm from New York and part of the dual MBA program between FIU, Florida International University, and Real Madrid Graduate School.
I chose this program because it's the first in the United States and it makes us stand out. There's others that are, in sports management, but there's no other school than Real Madrid to get a sports management degree. For me, it was a win-win to get to come to Madrid, study in a university that will give me the experience from the European perspective and the American perspective.
Universities in different countries that partner. It's always an opportunity for people from both countries to have access to similar education and share the values of both countries and their culture. And a program such as Real Madrid, one of the best organizations in the world, who's going to say no to that, right?
2 weeks have been an incredible experience. It was awesome to get to meet these people that I watch on TV most of the time. Those two things were for me the top of the experience.
But just the 2 weeks of White Week, we had a lot of great, conferences, with the opportunity to meet a bunch of people from around the world. And, I've had a great time so far.
This program showed me that I can use my passion as a way of living and making money. This experience here has been really awesome, and what a great opportunity it was to come here. What makes the Real Madrid school amazing is that you get to see the back end of how it actually works with the team and their partnerships with everybody here.
All right. So now, Jonathan, the start of the special event today. Again, thank you so much on behalf of Real Madrid Graduate School and FIU College of Business for attending this event today.
Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have students like you who are very successful now in the sport industry, who have found a very high-level job, who had to move to New York because he was offered a great position at MLS Next Pro. So I would like you to introduce yourself. Let us know about your background, your career, your current occupation, graduation years.
Yeah, so like I said, I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. I was raised there until I was 17. I was actually born in Canada. My family and I have lived in Miami for the last 15 years or so until I moved to New York. My undergrad degree was in biology and literature because I was originally pre-med, but I quickly pivoted off that. I graduated from the University of Miami in 2014 and from FIU and Real Madrid in 2023. I'm currently working as a senior coordinator for communications for MLS Next Pro.
All right. Thank you for that. So here is an example of someone who wasn't thinking about working in the sport industry, but who, for whatever reason, decided to jump in the sport industry. We have a lot of students who have not done any international business or marketing or don't have any finance background, but really want to work in the sport industry because it's their passion. So here you have a great example, Jonathan. Jonathan, through this partnership between FIU and Real Madrid School, you have obtained a dual degree, right? As we were saying, the Professional MBA and the Executive MBA. What was your initial interest in pursuing this program?
Originally, after undergrad, I wanted to pursue something in STEM, but ended up with a teaching job. Just based on the job market, it wasn't great for STEM jobs at the time. And I didn't want to stay in teaching for too long. Both of my parents are teachers, so I didn't want to go that route. So during the pandemic, I was looking to switch careers and I saw the ad for the program. And being a lifelong Real Madrid fan, it felt like it was the right progression. I originally wanted to do a healthcare MBA at FIU, but the opportunity for sports management came up and it seemed like something I would be naturally good at. I was always passionate about sports. So I took the leap of faith and decided to apply myself to it. And yeah, the rest, I guess, is kind of history.
Okay. And what has been the most challenging and your favorite course throughout the program?
I would say, even though I have a pretty strong science background, that a lot of the math related courses were very difficult at FIU, but they were useful. For example, quantitative analysis at FIU was pretty difficult, but it's something that I still use right now. As well as financial reporting, because anybody who wants to invest, wants to learn more about publicly traded companies, it's good to be able to read a financial report. I'd also say that the marketing classes from Real Madrid were amazing. We got to attend one of them by Professor Lejean for Marketing 2 when we were in Madrid for White Week. And he's worked with Formula One, Santander. He explained to us like how a brand can change its public perception. In that case, it was Red Bull he was speaking about. But he gave us very relevant information in terms of what we were doing at the time in marketing.
Okay. Thank you so much. How was moving from Miami to New York?
A little difficult. Today it's actually pretty cold. It is 48 degrees outside right now, which is almost single digit Celsius. I'm not used to the cold, but it's been a transition. But it's good so far. I'm lucky to work with great people who've made it very easy.
We really miss you down here.
It's down there too.
During the program, could you balance your schoolwork with your free time, especially taking into account that Jonathan was one of the students selected, and we will talk about this in a minute or so, by Inter Miami to do internships. So Jonathan was doing the program, doing internships at the same time, almost full time, and trying to have a life. How could you balance all of that?
It was definitely a bit of a juggling act. With any graduate program, it's gonna require an investment of time. So I would say that there was a little bit of sacrifice involved with the MBA and balancing the internship and part-time jobs and everything. But it is something that's doable. It's definitely possible to do well in the program and still have some free time. With the more difficult classes, obviously you'll need a little bit more of time investment. But it is worth it because the skills that we've gotten from these classes, I think, are relevant to the industry.
And could you tell the people here in the room about the study plan? So how does it work? How are your classes?
So our classes were two at a time. So we do 2 FIU classes generally, or back-to-back semesters of FIU classes, then 2 or 3 Real Madrid classes, which are usually in the afternoon. And then we would go back and forth between those 2. And then interspersed between that, you'd have White Week usually in May, I believe it was. Yeah.
And there's no overlapping, right, between FIU and Real Madrid school classes?
There's no overlapping, no. Or if there is, it's like a couple days.
And what about the schedule? How many
The schedule was pretty compact. It was 17 months to get an MBA, which is not that long. At times it feels like a marathon rather than a sprint, but it is a very quick program. And it gets intense at times, but it is manageable.
Okay. What efforts have you made to network while in the program? And I'm aware that you have done a lot.
Yeah. I would say, especially during White Week, which I know we'll talk about soon, it was important to network because it's important to know who else is in the industry. There's a lot of people that come from different walks of life in the industry, and not everyone started in business or everyone started in sports. So it's good to know how diverse your colleagues are. During my time with Inter Miami, I spent a lot of time networking there because these are people who are in the industry already and making their careers happen. I think it's very important to be friendly, be open to communicate, be ready to work, be enthusiastic about the opportunities. Because even if something doesn't work out right now, people, I would say, in the industry recognize when someone is enthusiastic and when someone is willing to go the extra mile. So that idea of being teachable, being enthusiastic, I think definitely goes a long way when it comes to networking.
we have here in the room, I have seen you, Zash, someone who did the program with you. I have to say that Jonathan was in a cohort of students who were really proactive, really enthusiastic about the program. They had such a great time during White Week in Madrid. I was with them there, and I think it was an unforgettable experience, unforgettable 2 weeks for everybody, me included. And one of the things I always like to say when we start the program is that I want you to feel that you're part of FIU and Real Madrid Schools family. And one of the things I like the most is meet you guys while in White Week and see how you make friends for life and connections forever, right? You never know where you're going to end up working. See, Jonathan, he's an example of someone who started in Miami and is now working in New York. And I know Zash has got a lot of opportunities as well out there, among others. And I'm so happy to see that you're connected and you take advantage, right, of these duplicated networking opportunities. Talking about White Week, what is that?
So White Week is when we go to Madrid for 2 weeks. I can't speak enough about how great that experience is, especially as this is an online program. Spending 2 weeks in Madrid with my classmates and now colleagues was valuable, not just because we learned a lot from attending the lectures and touring these world-class facilities. We toured Wanda Metropolitano, the Bernabeu, National Golf Center, these Valdebebas, which was amazing as a Real Madrid fan. But bonding with my colleagues was a great experience. So getting to spend time with them, meeting everyone from these different walks of life, who were all trying to make this career work, I think was very important for the experience. We got to attend great lectures. Raul, Real Madrid legend, Ornella, who works for FIFA. It's important because we get to see how professionals and professional teams at the highest level, the absolute highest level, work and operate, which I got my introduction through Inter Miami. But, this is still another level. This is Real Madrid, which is, like I said, the pinnacle of the sport.
Let's talk about the Inter Miami opportunity. How did you get it? What did you do?
Yeah, so that internship was with the communications team, which was led then and is still led now by Rafa Cabrera, who is an alumnus of the Real Madrid MBA program, and by Molly Dreska, who worked for Sporting Kansas City and I believe MLS as well. Members of my cohort for the MBA, like Sashri, Miles Thomas, also were a part of it. We spent a lot of time doing different roles on game days and off game days. Their communications is interesting because it does a little bit of everything. Communication works with the social team, with the marketing team, operations team, game day staff. We in particular got opportunities to write editorials for the team. We made connections with media members who we'd spend a lot of time with on game day. We'd work in the press box, work on the field itself. And it was an interesting experience because communications, like I said, it has a unique role. Communications gets to, I would say, tell the story of the team and be the voice for the team when they don't themselves get to speak to the media. It's an opportunity to work very closely with the players themselves, with the coaching staff. You get to see the action really up close. Watching football and watching soccer for a living is not a bad way to earn a living. And you learn I learned day by day from professionals who now are leading the charge with Messi in MLS, which is historic. So it was a very multifaceted opportunity that led to other roles, because it was an internship that served as a really good introduction to the industry because, like I said, it did a little bit of everything. So that way, I my original thought when doing the MBA was that I would like to get into something that was more on the analysis side of the industry, but it turns out that communications gets to do a little bit of everything. So that's where I call home now.
Awesome. Thank you. And you were at the right time at the
Yeah.
perfect place. I remember going to watch a game of Inter Miami, and I was so proud to see the three of you there. Working at Inter Miami with Rafa, who I love a lot. He's also, as you're saying, one of the students who graduated with Real Madrid school like 5 or 6 years ago as well. And these are the kind of connections that we want to provide you with when you're in the program, right? All the connections that FIU has to offer and that Real Madrid has to offer. Also, how did you get your current job, and what is that you do?
So my current job came after a string of different opportunities. So I missed the messy boat by just a little bit after the internship ended in December. But based on that internship, Molly and Rafa put me up for a short position with Formula One when they were in Miami for the Miami GP, which led to another opportunity with CONCACAF to serve as assistant venue press officer for all the Gold Cup games in Miami at Drive-Pink Stadium. And then from that, a media member that I knew from then also had me on board for a cricket tournament in Fort Lauderdale in July. But Rafa and Molly also put me up for this job at MLS. So MLS Next Pro is a subsidiary of MLS. It is the development league for up-and-coming professionals. So players that come up through the academy then go on to MLS Next Pro, which is a third division league, I believe, where they get the opportunity to earn minutes in a professional setting. They play serious games, they compete for a trophy, they compete for a league, and they have the opportunity to move up and down between the first team. So it's an important way for players to get real professional experience. I work as a senior coordinator for communications for them. It is pretty similar to the role I played at Inter Miami. It's a little less personal as it's the league and not a team. So, you have to be unbiased as much as I do support Inter Miami and everything. You have to, you're not dealing with one team and one roster. It's almost 30 teams and 30 rosters. It's close to 800 players, I believe. So there are more relationships to manage. But I still work very closely with like the content and social media teams, for example. I work closely with operations and competition teams. Recently, I helped plan the playoff format, which MLS Next Pro did something unique, where higher seeded teams were allowed to pick their opponents from the lower seeded teams. And currently, we're working on expansions to the league. So recently, Jacksonville Armada just joined the league last week.
Talking about expansion, it's a great thing you mentioned that, because I think soccer, of course, is expanding in the US. The World Cup is coming. So perfect momentum right now. If you want to, transition into the sport industry, how earning this degree did empower you? I mean, how did it help you transform from where you were to where you are now?
I would say that the degree empowered me it gave me a sense of readiness or preparedness. My background in STEM and teaching meant that, not just sports management, but business as a whole was almost completely foreign to me. So learning the basics through the program and, wonderful faculty from FIU and from Real Madrid who have applicable experience gave me a sense of what to expect from the industry. It also gave me the confidence that I did belong in the industry. A lot of the tools that I gained from both sides of the program, I would say, are still very relevant in my job right now. They give me the tools that I need in this corporate and business environment. A lot of it helps give context. So, for example, I spoke about the marketing class before. A lot of the principles of marketing strategy that we got in that class, I apply now to my everyday job because our league is still quite small, but it's growing rapidly. So understanding what our market strategy is to go forward helps me understand how the league can grow and prosper.
Okay. And last question, what advice would you give to students interested in transitioning to into the sport management industry and doing this program?
There's a lot of advice I feel like I can give. I would say definitely stick with it. It might seem difficult, especially if you don't have that background in sports management or in business, but your faculty is there to help and not hinder you. I would also say lean on your classmates, lean on your cohort, but don't be a burden to them, obviously. Important team dynamics come from the work that you do with your cohort. You're all in this together. They're all in the same position as you. Working together is helpful to everyone. There's a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Which I think applies in this case. Like, I had a really great cohort, which you saw in the video. Alex and I, Zashri, everyone really helped each other. Because, it's not anybody against anybody. All of us are in the same program. I would also say it's important to be teachable, be ready to learn, and definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. With that, it's also important that the sooner that you can get industry experience, whether internships, entry-level positions, the better. It's important to have the program material absorbed, of course, but it's also important to be able to network with industry professionals. I would also say don't feel like you're at a disadvantage if you're new to sports management or business. A lot of these skills that you'll gain in this program will equip you for success. But it also helps if you're enthusiastic and a bit of a go-getter, which I wouldn't necessarily describe me as. I think things kind of fell into place. But I imagine if you were, it would be even better. Don't wait for opportunities to fall into your lap. You kind of have to go after it. And even if things don't work out sometimes, rejection is a part of it, especially with job hunting sometimes. But I will say I can take it through my own experience that people will notice, your hard work, your diligence, your enthusiasm, your willingness to learn, which are all important qualities, just as important as the things you learn in the program. So yeah, that's the advice I would give.
Thank you, Jonathan. We have Roberto Drago, media officer, here in the room. He's saying, congratulations, great job at the Gold Cup in Miami last summer.
Oh, thank you.
And of course, Zachary Mercedes, who is not only an amazing student of the program, but also now is a friend of yours. Congratulations. Yeah. And again, congratulations on our behalf at Real Madrid Graduate School and FIU College of Business. We are very proud of having you as an alum and of seeing your career, where you're going. We still want to keep in touch with you to see where you're going to end up working, where you're already a successful case, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do next at MLS Next Pro and in whatever project you want to do in the future. I'm pretty sure you're going to be very successful. Please, everybody, you have here Jonathan, Inter Miami, Real Madrid Graduate School, FIU College of Business, CONCACAF, Formula One, MLS Next Pro. Please go ahead, ask him any question you may have. Write it on the chat box and we will filter the questions and ask Jonathan to answer them. In the meantime, we have Alex here who can talk a little bit about the program and the questions that you may have regarding application and admissions. Alex, if you want to share the information while the people in the room are writing the questions for Jonathan.
Sure. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so just to speak a little bit about the big key points about the program as we are approaching the January start. So as of right now, we are accepting applications for January. Oh, hold on. No. Yeah, okay. You guys can see my screen, right? It looks fine. Okay, cool. So as of right now, we're still accepting applications for January. If you are able to submit your application and all of your documents that we'll go over in the next slide, before the end of the month, we should still have enough time to admit you and process you to start this January term. So don't wait. If you are interested in starting the application, we'll go over those details in a moment, but just keep that in mind that this start is the upcoming one. So I'm going to go over these documents one by one. Please continue to leave any questions in the chat box if you have any questions on these documents that we would need in order to admit you. So the minimum requirement is going to be a bachelor's degree or the 4-year equivalent of a bachelor's degree. We will ask that you provide the official transcripts from that bachelor's degree. What we mean by official is that the transcripts must be requested from the university you graduated from to be sent directly to FIU. Whether that's physical or digital, we can accept either, but if it doesn't come directly from the university, they would be considered unofficial. So the last thing for your transcripts is going to be the GPA we're looking for, which is a 3.0 in your upper division courses. So your upper division GPA has to do with all of the courses you took that have to do with your major. So anything unrelated to your major would not be calculated. And I take a moment to describe that because a lot of students will see that their upper division GPA is a bit higher than their cumulative GPA. So next here is going to be your work experience. So we're going to ask for a resume or CV that demonstrates at least 2 years of work experience. This experience does not need to be in sports. It does not need to be in business. Like Jonathan described, his experience was not related to sports management, and he not only did well, he graduated and he's already moved on into his next step. So we don't penalize you if you don't have experience in sports management. We understand this MBA is going to be that stepping stone for your next step. So any work experience will be relevant for this application. So if you can include all of the positions you've held, regardless of what field they were in, and make sure to include whether they were full-time or part-time, and then also mention the months and years that you held those positions. The more specific and the more examples you can include, the better your application odds. Next here is a statement of purpose, which is going to be no more than 2 pages describing why you want to apply to the program and how it fits into your career goals. There are some more prompts listed for you here on the screen, and there are some other prompts listed for you on our website. You're able to use any of these prompts that you feel fits best for you, but the main idea that we want you to get across is why you're applying and how it fits into your career goals. These last 3 points are going to be determined on a case-by-case basis if your file will require it. So the GMAT GRE is a mandatory part of the application. However, for applicants that have at least that 3.0 GPA and 2 years of work experience, we'll be able to waive that GMAT requirement. So before you make any preparations to take the test, make sure you apply with your resume and your transcripts. We'll review those and then automatically consider you for the waiver and let you know whether or not you need the test. Next here is going to be interviews. This is nothing to worry about. It's just an opportunity for our admissions team to get to know you a bit better. So this will be handled on Zoom. And again, nothing to worry about, pretty standard procedure for applicants. The last thing here is the English proficiency exam. So this is for any applicant that has a bachelor's degree outside the US. We will require either a TOEFL, an IELTS, or a Duolingo exam. Again, just like the GMAT, when you apply with your transcripts and your resume, we'll let you know whether or not you need this test. But if you do have a bachelor's outside of the US, this is just put this on your radar so you know to expect that in the future. Are there any questions here on the documents? I'll just review. Okay, so Mustafa, if you have if you've already requested the transcripts to be sent to FIU, if you can just forward me, I think we've already spoken, Mustafa. If you can just forward me any confirmation email you received of those transcripts, I'll take that to the admissions team, and basically with them, we'll locate them in case they were sent to the wrong department.
No, I'm sorry, Alex. I just maybe I did not ask my question properly. What I'm trying to say is of course it's overseas from international university. The thing is, I was not able to successfully communicate with them. However, when I left the country, moved to the States, I got all my transcript with me, sealed, translated, and everything is the originals that I got when I graduated in 2006. So that was what I'm trying to do. I couldn't get hold of nobody, and it's in Iraq. It's a little bit difficult there. So that's my situation.
Sure. So in Mustafa's case, and this goes for any of you with a bachelor's degree outside the US, if your transcripts are still sealed, we should be able to accept that. If there's any specific things that we need past that, we'll be able to do that when we review your file. So Mustafa, we will coordinate. I'm going to take note of your name now. I'll give you a call once I send out an email to everyone that's attended today. And we'll go over that a bit more in detail. All right, so we'll circle back for questions on Jonathan, but for now, we'll just move on to the next slide. So Here at the Sports Management MBA, we do have a couple of financial aid options that are listed for you here. Just last year alone, students at FIU's Chapman Graduate School of Business were awarded more than $25 million in federal aid, scholarships, and assistantships. We have allocated these funds to students so that they can focus on their education and complete their degrees in a timely manner. So most of you will qualify for federal financial aid, which is the details that are listed on the screen. There's a couple things that you need to know. There's a couple more details that can get more specific. For now, what you need to know is that you will be granted at least $10,000 in loans, and the difference between the cost of tuition at FIU and what you have granted in loans will be sufficient to cover the portion of your tuition for courses at the Universidad Europea, White Week, and the dual degree if you choose to do that option. So in essence, you should qualify for federal aid. For specifics on that and how this is going to pertain specifically to you, once you are admitted to the program, our student experience team will go in depth with you and go over all of your options and how much aid is available and how you can allocate them correctly. So for now, what you need to know is that you're going to be given an excess. That excess will be used for your Spain courses. So with that, that's going to bring us to the end of the presentation. So again, I want to thank you all for joining today. I want to thank Jonathan and Laura for their conversation. That was very insightful for all of us that were considering a career in sports. For attending today, I'm going to send out an email. It's going to go over the main points about the program that you need to know. It'll include the admission requirements and things of that nature. Additionally, there's going to be instructions on how to apply so that you don't need to pay the application fee. And again, that's just as a thank you all for joining. We are accepting applications for January. So at the point of your application, we only need your resume. Things like your transcripts or your statement of purpose, I'll be reaching out to you and getting in touch with you and letting you know how to submit them. But for now, if you want to start in January, we need that application as soon as possible with your resume. But yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of the presentation. If there are any questions, Laura and myself are here to help out. Jonathan, once again, thank you for your time and for your insight on your experiences.
Thank you, Alex. So I have shared on the chat box the link to the information of the program. You'll find there all the information Alex and I just shared, and Jonathan was mentioning about the courses, and also the link to the application page, although you have seen the QR code that Alex was sharing. We're now going to go back to Jonathan, and the questions you have on the chat box, you have some of them. So Cameron, former teacher here, this has been fantastic advice for someone in my position. Thank you, Jonathan. Juan Pablo Franco is asking, Jonathan, something I'm afraid of is the time span between finishing the program and when you start seeing job opportunities. How quickly and how many opportunities are out there realistically for someone that decides to take this path?
That's a great question. So what I will say is, when my cohort started, we started in October of 2021, and the following February was when I started with Inter Miami. So I would say it took a couple months, but that one might have been my own fault because I was probably a little too focused on starting classes. I really wasn't paying too much attention to actual job opportunities. What I will say is, it's important to keep an ear out and keep looking. Like, a lot of the times it may not be exactly what you want. Like I said, communications for me wasn't what I thought I was going to be into, but it ended up being the right avenue for me. That being said, it was an internship with Inter Miami, and the job opportunities, they're usually good events. Soccer X is one of them, which I believe is next week or this week in Miami, which is a really good one to be at. I know the Florida Panthers usually have their job fair as well. So it's good to go, and even if you just go to drop off a resume and to make the connection with someone, one of the recruiters, it's good to put a face to a name. And it's good to begin fostering a relationship. Even if it doesn't work out to be something, it's good that they know who you are and know that you're interested.
Great. I'm going to share here on the chat box as well the name of a website that is Teamwork Online. Please Google it, because you'll see that this is a website only offering job opportunities in the sport industry. So you can have a look at the job opportunities that are offered at the moment in the sport industry. They update that every minute, so you can see some opportunities that are out there right now, and you can have an idea of the real trends and things that are going out in the sport industry. We have a question by Christian Calderon. Jonathan, how do you get a job without the sport background? He applied to the Heat and Dolphins and still has no answers from both.
Okay, Christian, if it makes you feel better, I also applied to the Heat and Dolphins once upon a time, and I didn't hear back from the Heat, which was disappointing to me because, you know, I'm a Heat fan. But the Dolphins that one did come true with Formula One, as the Dolphins run Formula One and the Miami Open when it comes in. What I would say specifically about this is it's a good idea to try to figure out early on what part of the sports industry you want to work in. It doesn't necessarily have to be, so what I mean is, it's a good idea to not think about it as, oh, I'm going to work in football, in NFL. I think it's a good idea to look at it as, I want to work in marketing, I want to work in sales, I want to work in operations, commercial operations, game day ops. I think it's a good idea to have that focus, because a lot of people who work in those jobs may not even necessarily be sports fans. A lot of the people who work in these jobs do that specific role, and it can apply to any organization, really. So I think it's important to maybe have that little bit of separation between working in a role and then working in a sports role in that capacity, would be my advice there.
Hey, thank you. Congrats, Jonathan. That's from Mario Gonzalez. It's great to hear that someone like myself can pivot from one career to sport management. Can you talk about sales department when it comes to working for club or MLS? Because that's my background.
So I don't have too much experience with sales departments. Usually I know with MLS, it's generally tied to like ticketing and season ticket sales, which that's probably one of the only departments I don't have any real experience in. What I would say is, if your background is in sales, that's probably the avenue you want to look at. Or I would say marketing goes pretty much hand in hand with sales. And given the quality of the marketing courses from FIU and from Real Madrid, if you wanted to make that pivot, I think that would be a pretty smooth transition. But you know, with the sport growing the way it is in the US, I think it's definitely an area that has good growth for professional development, especially with, you know, Messi being in MLS now. Anywhere Miami goes, they're gonna sell out of tickets. So I think we're gonna see an increase in attendance, and an increase in attendance comes with an increase in sales. So ticketing, club sales will definitely be something to look into. So I think that's probably the best avenue if you didn't want to make that transition to marketing, for example.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's Mara. Appreciate your answer, and definitely something to think about getting to marketing. Thank you.
No problem.
And actually, Mario has another question. Are the internships paid? The ones you did at Inter Miami, I guess.
The one at Inter Miami was not paid, but a lot of internships are. It just, you have to find which one is which. They differ based on which company is offering it. I would say it is still worth it, even if it isn't paid, if you can manage doing the internship part-time while doing another job. I think it is difficult, absolutely. Sashri, who is in my cohort, did that as well, and it is difficult, but the experience that you gain is important.
And also, I think you got credit, right? For the
yes, did get credit. So I didn't have to do, there was a class that I didn't have to do. I can't remember which one it is.
It was a 3-credit hour course, right? At FIU.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We have a question. Oh, Cameron. Okay, Alex has already answered this question for you. Pablo. Hello, Jonathan. What steps did you go through to find your jobs and internships? I think you answered that question, but if you can briefly talk about that again, and also how many classes did you had per semester in this program?
So I'll start with the classes. So
Yeah.
each semester was 2 classes from FIU or 2 to 3 classes from Real Madrid. The Real Madrid ones aren't concurrent. So if the semester is 12 weeks, you'd have I think 4 or 5 weeks of one class, and then there's a little bit of overlap with the second class. And then the third class has overlap with the second, if that makes sense. I probably didn't explain it clearly there. With FIU, the classes were concurrent and they were over an 8-week period, I believe. But it's no more than 2 classes at a time. In terms of the jobs and internships, the first one was, I think I applied through Glassdoor. And then we figured out that Rafa at Inter Miami had a relationship with Real Madrid. So Laura and Tomas put in a good word for us, and I think that helped. So the program does help with, networking and getting these opportunities.
Thank you. We have more questions. Michael Rojas is saying, I would love to know what past experience or skill do you think prepared you best for your internship at Inter Miami? I'm a communications major that is eager to get my foot in the door with the MLS and would love to know what skills are vital in this department.
That's a great question. I would say that I used to write for an online publication back in the day covering boxing and MMA. I think having that experience in writing and being someone who reads a lot, I think that helped me prepare a little bit for that communications role, because we did a lot of the editorials. Most of the post-game editorials would be done by one of the interns. And obviously it's approved and edited by Rafa and company, but it gave us the chance to actually put pen to paper. I would say also being not necessarily a people person. I know not everybody is extroverted or anything like that. But just being friendly, because in communications especially, you're going to do a lot of mingling with media members. Sometimes they're not the easiest to work with, but everyone usually appreciates a kind word, a helpful hand anywhere. People respond to that kind of thing. I think it's important to not just have the important skills, but also a lot of people are gonna appreciate when you're easy to work with.
Thank you. Fabio, for someone with a lot of experience in business looking to transition into the sport industry, do companies value education related to sports or sport experience more? What do you think, Jonathan?
Oh, wow. I'm not sure if they would appreciate one over the other more. I think it is both are very good to have, right? I would say the experience is very important, but I think also the education has to be equally as important, because looking at my own situation, before this role at MLS Next Pro, I only really had 1 season with Inter Miami, and then interspersed with things with CONCACAF and a Formula One. So I would say in each of those roles, everyone understood that I didn't have that much experience, but because I had the education to back me up, it was a little bit easier for me to absorb any relevant skills that they had to teach me. So I would say, personally, I think the education is a little more important, but I would say if companies will probably value experience. So it's good to have a mix of both.
Perfect. Thank you. Before we continue with questions, I want to put on the chat box Alex Candia's email address. I will also include my email address here. Please feel free to reach out if you have any question once we finish the call. Please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, Jonathan, Alex, myself. We would be happy to be connected with you. And we usually share information about the program as well through LinkedIn. So please feel free to follow us and send us an email. Don't hesitate to connect with us. We're both Alex and I are pretty quick responding to emails. So if you ever have a question about application or about the program, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, Carol Fernandez. This question is for anyone in the panel. I have a part-time with the Miami Dolphins right now and no experience working in sports aside from this one I have now in guest experience. How can make hiring managers notice me since already have my foot in the door with the Miami Dolphins, wanting to work in player, fan engagement, and community relations events?
What I would say is that the industry is very small. A lot of the people that you see in one event, you're probably going to see in another event, whether it's media or it's professionals working in the industry. I say that because, for example, the communications team at Inter Miami knows the communications team at the Dolphins, who know the communications team at the Heat. So I think utilizing the network that you have right now at the Dolphins, I think that might be your best bet because, like I say, a lot of the industry is word of mouth, and it's networking. It's who do you know, and when your team around you sees that you're doing great work, you are diligent, you're disciplined, that stuff carries. It helps when people know your name for the right reasons. Let's put it that way. So that's why I would say utilizing your network might be your best bet here. Instead of just sending a blind application to somewhere, see if someone in the Dolphins organization can help with that transition to player or fan engagement or community relations.
All right, thank you. Francesco Renzi, he's here. I know him very well. He's a student who is currently doing the program, and he's asking you a question about Inter Miami. I would like to start to work in Inter Miami from January 2024. Can you give me some advices to apply and try to be hired? Thank you. So Francesco, I didn't know about this. You should have told me. Please send me an email. I will put you in touch with Rafa, who is the one who worked with Jonathan. But apart from that, Jonathan, please go ahead and answer his question if you want.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I was gonna defer to you, Laura, on that one. I think being part of the program definitely helps a lot. And Rafa and Molly do really appreciate people who are go-getters and they're willing to put in the hours and work with them. And they have a lot to teach you. I still feel like I use things they teach me every day here. So it's definitely something that, once Laura puts you in contact with them, get ready to go there and just absorb as much as you can, I would say.
Yeah, and also we have very good relationships with the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami that organizes a lot of events, such as the Miami Open or Formula One or a lot of football events, Super Bowl. So we already have opportunities coming to us. We always recommend students who could be interested, who could provide good value to these partners. So please don't hesitate once you're part of the program to ask if we have any opportunities coming. We are always informing you of any opportunities that come to FIU or Real Madrid school. So these are the things that we like to do as you're part of the program. Ailey, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, is saying, hi, Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It has been wonderful to hear about your path. Could you share more about your experience in Formula One, please?
Yeah. So this is a funny story as well, because before I worked for Formula One for that very short time, I did not follow the sport that closely. My brother is a big Formula One fan. He's a Red Bull guy. He's a Verstappen guy. I ended up watching Drive to Survive after Formula One. The recommendation came through Inter Miami to the director of communications for the Dolphins, who was hiring for that event for Formula One. I didn't have a glamorous job. I'll put that out there for now, for sure. I worked in the accreditation center, so I dealt a lot with media, TV media, radio media, print. Everyone who had to come through had to pick up credentials from that center. But I did get to meet a lot of important people, I suppose. And the experience is interesting. Formula One isn't like a lot of other sports. It is It's very unique, and it's interesting that it's growing way more now in the US. They've added a couple more GPs. There's the Vegas GP. Austin has a GP as well. So the sport is in a position to keep growing. With the success of something like Netflix's show Drive to Survive, the sport is only going to grow more in the US, and it's already very popular. All 3 days that it was in Miami was very successful financially for the city, I would say.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's almost 1 p.m. and we want to be conscious of your time. I'm just going to ask you this last question. That's for the fun experience, because we're all here passionate about sports. Who did you have the chance to meet, the Real Madrid legends?
So Emilio Butragueño, I feel like I butchered his name there. He actually took us around to tour Valdebebas, the training facility, himself. There was no other tour guide. It was literally just him and our group. We got to see the fields where they train. We got to see their facilities, top to bottom. We got to see Raul. He gave a talk at White Week, but we also, when we were doing that tour, we got to see him train the Castilla players, which was really interesting. But yeah, we did get to meet him, which was incredible.
I think we also got to meet players, right? Raul.
Yeah, Raul was there. I can't remember if Roberto Carlos was there for us as well, or if he was there another year.
Roberto was this year, 2023.
Right.
Raul, Arbeloa.
I can't remember if he was there for ours. I know he was there for one of them.
Raul Gonzalez was there. No, Raul Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Iker Casillas.
Yeah, Raul Gonzalez. He's the reason
this year.
Raul is the reason I'm a football and soccer fan. So it was surreal to attend a lecture by him. Oh, and we did. Zasha and I met David Beckham while working for him in Miami, who was very nice and introduced himself as if we didn't know who he was. So that was funny.
Thank you, Zash. All right. So again, it's 1 p.m. We would love to extend this event for much longer because it's a pleasure to be with Jonathan. We have a lot of questions in the chat box, but we don't have time to answer all of them. But please, again, feel free to connect with me on